Shawn Spears is here on the sessions. Really happy to have you here on the show. Plenty of things to talk about today. Christmas, of course, being the hot topic right now. Because it's Christmas season now. Halloween is behind us. It's time to move on. We don't live in the past. You got to go. It's funny how people usually take down their Halloween decorations pretty quickly, but Christmas lingers. You guys go all the way to March?
It can. It's very possible. So it'll slowly start to, one or two decorations might come down after Christmas time. The tree is the very last thing to go. But we make a whole, there's things hanging from, we have like a bridge in our house that goes across. That's got stuff hanging from it.
Oh my God.
There's trees, there's outside. It's Christmas time. And if it was up to Cass, it'd be Christmas time all year round. But it makes it feel like a home. Like, it's weird. Do you know what I mean?
It does. No, it does. And there's sort of like a mourning that happens when you take the decorations down. You're like, oh my God, my house sucks now. It's like not magical anymore.
The vibe goes away. You're like, oh.
Yeah. What's with these bad vibes?
Yeah. So I get the idea. I think it'll linger even longer now, this time next year when I have a little one running around, because he might not like taking down the decorations. That might be a problem.
Okay, so let's talk about Christmas with kids. Well, okay, so wait, how much longer until you guys are due?
Oh, just under 3 months. So January.
Okay, so you'll still have baby in belly by Christmas time, and then it's on. Does it feel even like more magical right now? I mean, everything's more magical when there's a baby on the way.
So I get so like elated and I'm through the moon or over the moon, whatever you want to call it. But I can't like be overly joyed because she's doing all the work. She's carrying all the weight. Her back is sore. Her feet are sore. She's so tired, and he gets mad. He pushes on her bladder and he kicks her in the ribs. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
But she is the most adorable mother to be in my eyes ever. And I'm sure all fathers and husbands feel that way about their wife that's carrying this
John
beautiful
better have thought
thing.
that.
He did. He might not say it as much or let on, but he 100% did. But I'm so excited. It is ridiculously. I tell my friends about this, my close friends. It almost feels like now I have like purpose.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does. So, everything is different now. Everything is more important. Everything does change, and it's such an exciting time, especially like where you guys are at now, where you don't even know the baby yet. You've not met the baby. You've not got to hold the baby. I don't know if you've named the baby. I don't know where you're at with any of that stuff. I will not poke and prod because I know that's like the sacred thing that's like, no one touch it until the baby's out and it's been announced. But like, then you get to know this baby and you like see their little personality and they just become these like human beings. It's the best thing in the whole world. And everything just shifts into the place that it's supposed to be. It's so great. I'm so happy for you guys.
Thank you. And that's what I'm hearing. So like, you know, wrestling, for example, or the entertainment industry, the same as you've been chasing it for so long, so many years. It's been about what I can accomplish. How can I accomplish? And you're so tunnel vision and so driven. And then all of a sudden you're going to be responsible for another human life, and your whole perception of how you think changes. And you want to be a good example and you want to guide down the right path. But you got to let them learn on their own as well. It's not about you anymore.
It is like a really interesting thing because I think to the point of like what you're saying too, of like when you have your career and something you've been working your whole life to be doing and you're excelling at it and there's success with it and that's great. And you want to keep doing that stuff because you're like, man, I want my kid to see the things that I've done and I want to be able to set this example. I want my kid to think that I'm like kind of interesting and kind of cool. But then there's the other side that kicks in that goes, oh my God, I don't want to be away from my kid ever. I just want to stay at home with my kid all the time. It's really like a funny push and pull of figuring out like what the right move is in terms of like, and I don't know if it's different, like being like the mom. And I was home with Nora for the first year and a half where I was always just with her. So now to like not be doing that and be back on the road is definitely like a funny thing to like adjust to.
But it's like balance, I'm assuming, correct? Because I've seen you backstage at AEW for like months ago and stuff, and Nora would be with you, and like there's opportunities to travel and be with John, and the baby can still be with you guys too. I know that's probably not every week, all week.
Sure.
But the possibilities do exist. So, and luckily now, being a little later in my career, I've had the time to accomplish some things. So I've set myself up, and so has Cass, in a position to have that luxury of time if we need it.
Yeah.
To where, we're not stressing about finances. We're not stressing about time, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we've been very lucky in that regard. We did a 4D scan yesterday.
Oh my God, is it not the craziest thing you've ever seen?
Mind blowing.
Does he look like you or her? Can you tell already?
So I'm going to ask another woman. For me, it just looks like I can tell everything. I can see, like, when they do the ultrasound and everything, I'm like, oh, there's this foot. She's like, how do you see that? I go, I can see it.
Yeah.
But when they do the, 4D scan or whatnot, she's like, oh, he has your nose. Oh, he has your cheeks. I'm like, how, you don't know that? And she's like, no, but it's you guys see it differently than we do. We just see like an arm. I think that's an eyeball. Like, we don't. It's a funny
thing. Like, I remember when I did that with Nora and I saw her and I was like, whoa, it was like John's profile. I could it was like the side of her face and I was like, oh my God, she's got like his like lip. And she does look a lot like John. I think she's really a good combination between the two of us. But yeah, she's very much so John, but it's also funny, like their little personalities inside your belly. Like Nora was a very active little baby inside me, and now she's just bouncing off the walls. Like, yeah, so buckle up. That happens on the outside as well. So get ready for those kicky legs to be coming in hot.
It's a good thing. I'm probably one of the most childlike adults you'll ever no, the world doesn't see it. It's all in home, and I do my best.
We get little glimpses on Instagram. We get little glimpses of it.
You might get some small stuff, but my goal pretty much every day is just to make Cass laugh in the most awkward of times. So I'll do the dumbest of shit with the dogs or just by myself. So to have another little mini me to do that with, the sky's the limit in terms of what we can do. I already know what we're going to do next year for Halloween. I already know.
Can you tell us?
Oh, we're doing Michael Myers, mini me and me. We're just going to big little knives. It's going to be epic. Just trotting down the street. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Oh, so great. Okay, so dadhood is just around the corner for you. I mean, you're in it. It's happening. How do you see yourself as a dad? Who do you want to be?
Oh, this is tough only because I grew up kind of in a different generation. You want to set an example and you want to protect your children as best as possible, but you also have to give them some leadway to learn for themselves. As long as it's not harmful or detrimental to their health in any way, shape, or form. Like the kid's crawling up on the couch and I say, don't do that. Don't do that. Like there's the option of either going to pick them up and putting them down so they're safe, or if you take a little tumble, you're going to learn the hard way.
Oh yeah.
I had to learn the hard way growing up a lot of times. Times have changed. Like I used to get like the belt and I used to get like upside my head if need. Oh, come on. Or dad would give me the old dad grip underneath, and it's like, you can't do some things like that anymore.
Yeah.
But the idea remains the same. I just want my kid to be respectful. I just want him to understand hard work and to know like it's okay to push for what you want as long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting anybody else around you. Just go for it. So it's hard, especially with all the outside influences in the world in general. I'm just going to try to do my best and hopefully he follows suit. I think that's all you can kind of do. If you got any tidbits or golden little nuggets of information.
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of on the same track as you in terms of like, I'm not a big hoverer. Like I feel, say, like, yeah, of course, if she's like holding a sharp object or something like really bad's going to happen, of course I'm going to intervene. But if she's going to take a little tumble or she's going to learn a lesson some way, I kind of like watch from a distance and let her do her thing. Because it really is that like you want them to develop. I also want her to have experiences. I don't want her to just like think, I want her to be able to just like live her life, like all of those things. But she's still so little. So it really is interesting, like as she becomes more of a person and I see more of her personality, she's getting funny. You want to protect them, but you also just want to like build them up to be these confident little people that can handle any situation that they're in. I just watched something recently about that, of this mother was talking about how to like protect her kid from horrible things on the internet and things that you can't keep your kid away from when they're not in front of you. And he was like, the best thing you can do is to raise a confident child so that they aren't necessarily going to succumb to all the peer pressures and all of these like other things that they're going to happen at some point or another. So I think it's just trying to find a way to like instill that confidence in your kid, that they're loved at home, and no matter, you know, what happens outside of that. I think like that acceptance at home is such a big thing.
So the biggest thing for me, and we're probably from we're the same generation, essentially.
Yeah.
My biggest thing was I never wanted to disappoint my mother. So I felt that if it would make my mom upset, or if she would go, "Oh, I'm disappointed in you," that would crush my soul. So I would be like, "Oh, my mom would not like that. So I'm just sorry guys, not today, or I'm not gonna go forward with whatever the plan is," because that was my biggest fear, that if she found out, she would be really disappointed in me. So that helped too, because of that bond that you have. So I'm hoping that we have that kind of relationship as well. But I didn't have a dad for the first like 10 years of my life. So me and my mom were very, very close. So she essentially raised me until I was about 10. So that's probably where that comes from. But I'm hoping I can have that effect on my son early on.
Certainly, it's like being able to like have that relationship. And I was the same, like, you know, with my mom, like very close. I would definitely like push her buttons every now and then if I could, but like we were really close. And I hope that Nora and I have that when I see that sometimes, of like, oh my God, wait, there's the option for kids to not be close with their parents. Like what? That like freaks me out to imagine that happening. I want to like do whatever I can to make sure that there's never that like distance between us, or she feels like she can't talk to me about something or anything like that, for me and John.
So I feel yes, and I, believe it or not, I thought about that as well. But I think there is a time, no matter what, where they go, I can handle this on my own.
Oh, yes.
And it's only until they hit a roadblock or they get in shit that they go, "Oh, mom, dad." And then you go, now you're learning on your own that this is how life works. I have the same conversation now with the man I consider my stepfather, but I consider him my dad because he's the only one who ever raised me. He doesn't talk to a lot of my siblings very much. He's very quiet. He's just quiet in nature. So he won't necessarily reach out. But if you reach out to him, he'll talk to you all day long. It's just the way he is. So he'll be like, "Oh, I haven't heard from anybody in a while." I was like, "Well, everybody's living their lives. They're all grown up. It's now you have to kind of reach out and say, 'Hey, how's your life going?' And then they'll tell you, 'Oh, I got this problem, that problem.' And you go, 'Okay, you're on your own.' But that's how life works. Like everybody just lives their life, and then once they hit, a bump in the road, that's where they go, 'Hey, mom, dad, can you help out?'" So I think there's going to be a time frame, no matter what, where my son's going to think he knows how things go and he's got a handle on everything in life. And his ego is going to take over, and then his ego is going to get checked. And then I'm going to go,
saw that
that's how this works.
I know. Oh my gosh, these little peanuts. What was that?
All you can do.
Go ahead.
Sorry. All you can do is hope they don't make a mistake that's, irreversible.
Yes,
that's all.
Totally.
That's all you can do.
Totally. Okay, let's go to 10-year-old you and your father stepping into the picture, because that's a pretty interesting age for a young boy, I would imagine, to now have this father figure step in. What was that relationship like for you guys right off the bat?
Good, because it was all I knew.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my real father. I think I've seen twice in my life. There's no contact or anything like that. So this new man stepping in to my mother, who already had 2 children. So what a massive endeavor for a man. And this was going, when was this? In the late, this would be about early 90s, stepping into, getting with a woman who already has 2 kids. That's a lot. That could be a lot to take on for a single man. So looking back on that now, I mean, that's what I understand. That's what a man does. A man steps up. At least that's what he should do. So he always treated us, even when we had, my brother and my youngest sister, he never treated anybody any different. We were all the same. He disciplined me the same way he did them. But because he came into my life, I was able to play hockey. I was able to get into sports. He brought that stability. And if I pushed my mother, like you said you did yours, I would do the same thing. She'd be my best friend. but I would push it to the envelope and she'd say, your father finds out. And I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're good. I'll take care of it. And so, I was actually with them last time I was in Canada when we did the show for AEW in Toronto. I went and saw him. And I was telling him a story that he completely forgot. And it was when I was about 18. I just turned 18. So 18, you're a man. You know what I mean? And I was mouthing off to him. I said something under my breath. And he got this close right in my face. And he was like, I don't know if we can swear on this podcast.
Yeah, you're good.
Well, verbatim, he got right in my face. And I'm already like 6 feet. And he's like 5. He's blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'10". He's shorter than I am. But he got right in my face and he goes, do we have a fucking problem? And I went, oh.
Butthole puckers. Nope, we're good.
So immediately I'm like, oh, I'm a grown ass man now. There are consequences to my actions and things that I say. And I just went, nope, sorry. And I told him that. I go, do you remember that? He goes, no, not one bit. And I was like, taught me a lesson that day that there are consequences to your actions once you get out there in the world. So that was him checking my ego the same way I'll probably have to check my son's ego at some point in the future. So stories like that, he's a good man. He's a good man. He was a great dad. Still is.
It's really funny when you have your own kid. And I remember my mom saying this to me when I was younger. I mean, my dad was always in the picture, but my parents separated when I was really young. So I was with my mom a majority of the time. And, she'd be like, you'll understand this when you have your own kids and da-da-da. I'm like, yeah. I meet her with an eye roll. But now it really is. I'm like, man, you bent over backwards for us. And especially now, like when you're a mom and I'm a mom, you're going to be a dad, but like you're working and you're busy and you're tired, but you still find that time to like play with your kids and make sure that they're happy. And it just gives you like a whole different perspective on like what that would have been like, especially like, God, that generation of our parents too, they didn't have we can Google things on our phones. We can come up with all these different things to do. They were like left to their own devices to like make sure that everything stayed on track. So hats off. You guys did it.
Well, we did what needed to be done. We'll see if we do it in about just under 3 months. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, even our friend suggested to us the other day, just the technology that we have at our fingertips nowadays. It's almost like a Keurig where you can put formula in and then you push a button and it's like baby formula and it's good to go like this. And I was like, that's it? They're like, yeah. And I was like, I was planning on putting a pot on the stove, warming up some water, old school bottles, drop them in. That's how I helped my youngest sister and brother. I was going old school. Yeah. They're like, no, dude, like
we don't have
things
to do
have
that
changed.
anymore.
And I'm like, oh shit.
So funny.
I got to get caught up.
Has your guys' relationship, you and Cassie's, your relationship changed at all since finding out that she's pregnant?
It's tough to say. It's going to sound cheesy. I always like, we always like spending time together. I adore her. So even like COVID during the times where everybody had to quarantine, like that could put a lot of stress on our relationship. It didn't for us. Yeah. We love being around each other. We could be in the same room for hours on end and not say much to each other, but as long as we can see each other, we're good. I think now, and I think I can speak for most men, something changes different when they know that their wife or partner or whoever they've decided to spend the rest of their life with is carrying something that they created together. Yeah. It's just different. Like no matter what, Cass and I are joined together for life. You and John are joined together for life. No matter what, we created something together that is going to live on, hopefully long after we're gone. So that, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, that mindset alone is beautiful.
There's something very comforting in that. Like, I agree. There is something really beautiful in that. And like, yeah, I think about that sometimes too, in the sense of like, God, like, heaven forbid anything should ever happen. It's like to have this person that I've created with this man that I love so much. It's really cool to like it's a bond that's just completely unbreakable. It's awesome.
And she's going to tell her future children stories about, what she's going to watch everything you and John have done. Like, I think that's going to be really exciting too. If my kid grows up and he's of age and he's able to look back and kind of understand what I did and went, hold on. And he gets to ask you questions about that. And you can be like, oh my, this is mind blowing. I thought you might go back and watch this stuff, but I never thought we'd be talking about it all these years later. It's just something really cool about that. I think that alone will be in a somewhat underbelly way of being inspiring to you.
Of course. Yeah. I
So
know it's so
yeah.
funny. Like Nora just started playing with John's action figure. She like carries it in the car. She's like da 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 da. She like knows that it's him. It's like the sweetest thing ever. So
So cute.
for yeah, your son to be able to have that with like you and Cassie and like it's pretty unique. It's pretty cool. Okay, baby is happening. Congratulations. Cannot wait to meet this little man. And I'm sure everything is going to go really great upon his delivery here into this world. And chef's
So you know
kiss.
what?
What?
I don't mean to stop you. Let's just. I've been waiting a long time to get on this podcast, and I'm so glad it happened. And I thank you for getting me on, and I greatly appreciate it. So I'll tell you his name. I might get in trouble, but at the same time, there's a reason I'm going to tell you the
Okay.
name because eventually some people have already found it. So his name is going to be Austin J.
Oh my
That's going
gosh.
to be his name.
Love.
So the J comes after Cass's brother. So that's his name. So that's going to be his middle name. It'll be Austin J. But I also have it already kind of on my arm. So
Ah!
I don't know if you can kind of see that.
Oh
It's almost
my
done.
gosh.
So yeah, I had that. So we can't change our minds now. Is basically what I'm
Oh
saying.
my gosh. How exciting.
Yeah. So I had this done. Well, it's probably been but a little over a month ago now. But it was part of the idea all the way through. It's kind of just a little backstory. My mother's urn, she has angel wings on it. So that's where this comes from. But then the light that shines through kind of shines down on him.
Oh my gosh.
And before she passed away, she left him a message on one of those stuffed animal dolls with a voice box in it. So she always said that she'll be his guardian. She talks to him. This is before she knew yeah, she passed before she knew his name. But she knew he was going to be a boy and stuff. And she just said, I'll always be looking out for you, always be watching over you. So the light kind of shines down on him.
Oh my
So that's the idea
gosh.
behind it. But eventually someone's going to see this. So
Cat's out of
what
the
better place to
bag.
put it out than right here on your
I love
podcast?
that. It's a beautiful name, beautiful sentiment. The artwork is fantastic. And yeah, I wasn't sure if you were going to want to talk about your mother's passing because I know obviously it's so recent. How have you been doing? How's everything going for you?
It's been okay, and of course I'll talk about anything with you. It's been okay. It's been good. It never goes
Yeah.
away. Going back to AEW in Toronto was a big moment. Kind of after the cameras went off the air, I had a moment to kind of let loose. I had been gone for so long, and no one knew why. So I could have went out there and said, "Oh, it's great to be in Canada, and it's great to be home in AEW." But the elephant in the room is, where's this guy been for 5+ months? So I thought it was a good opportunity to not only kind of pay tribute, but just be
Yeah.
honest. Be honest with everybody for the first time in a long time. But the messages I received after that night, the DMs came like flooding in, and a lot of people were like, "I just lost my grandfather in June. I just lost my mother this year. I just lost like everybody loses somebody." And I was very fortunate from a young age to not experience that much loss. But no one escapes
Yeah.
this. It's part of life. And I hate saying that because, it sucks, but it's reality. Everybody, we can't escape it. But I'm getting into that age now where the majority of my family members are older and I'm going to experience it and go through it a lot more. Having lose her first, oh, probably doesn't get more difficult than that. And in a weird way, gosh, she still taught me one last lesson before she passed. Like she still, all she wanted was to be surrounded by her children and pass away at home. So she had, in Canada, you can kind of set yourself up if you have terminal cancer. You can kind of set yourself up to how you want things to go. So that's what she did. And she wanted to go at home, surrounded by her children. And she made me promise that if something happened to her, she wasn't able to walk, speak, anything like that, that it was time to go.
Phew.
So, yeah. So I was actually supposed to go to a signing on a Friday, and she was doing well. But a major stroke had hit on Friday. And basically that paralyzed her ability to speak, walk, move, anything. So when we were finally back home, all the kids were there and things like that. I had to make the decision to go ahead with the process. She could squeeze your hand, so I was asking her if you're ready to go, and she would squeeze and let me know that she was ready to go.
Okay, so you're with your mom, and the decision is in your hands. Your mom's hand is in your hands.
Yeah, and there's it's weird how you can still see vivid pictures. You still see everything in your mind, and you don't want to believe it, but it's actually happening. It's taking place and whatnot. But everything was on her own terms. That was the most beautiful thing, and that was the thing that brought me comfort during that time, was that it was her call, and we're doing things the way she wanted them done. So, but the lesson that I learned in that, the final one that she left with me, and it's something I always knew, but it was made more paramount in that moment, was that family was everything. That's all that mattered to her. So all the money that I have would not have been able to take away her cancer. All the money in the world would not have taken away the stroke that sped up the process. All that mattered was that she wanted to be surrounded by her kids, her world. And once she passed, it was just like, you don't believe it, but it's right in front of you. But it's just like, you can have everything together. You can have your job, your life, your marriage, everything is together, but then all of a sudden you feel absolutely lost. Like you don't know where to start, you don't know where to go, you don't know where to move, and it kind of freezes time for a little while. But after that moment in Toronto where I kind of got to pay tribute and at least speak the way I wanted to do once the cameras were off, the amount of messages that I got from people, and I did my best to answer as many as I could. I responded to tons because people would say, oh, last month I lost my uncle, I lost my grandmother, I lost my mother not long ago, and we went to the show to kind of get away from it, and you brought it back up, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And they're like, no, but it's okay to know that we're all human. We all bleed the same color, and we're all going to go through this kind of thing in life. It's just how we deal with it. And I don't think it gets better. I don't think it gets easier. I just think we learn to carry on the best memories as possible and pass on their teachings to our little ones. So just a beautiful woman, and time cut way too short.
What was the moment like when you were able to tell your mom that Cassie was pregnant?
So because she was doing a little bit of chemotherapy at the time, she carried around with her a oh my goodness, I can't remember, a drip apparatus, and so she had to carry with her everywhere. So we'd actually brought the pregnancy home test, everything back home. So we're like, oh, happy Mother's Day, and a little surprise for her. I brought her flowers and everything like that, and she thought it was a little gift for her. So she opened it up, and she didn't have her glasses on, so she's like, what the? So puts her little glass on. It's taken a little while, and I'm filming it, and I'm like, so she finally sees it. She turns it around, and she goes, "Oh fuck, you're pregnant!" And then immediately starts to run down the hall, but forgets to grab her thing. So her thing starts dragging, and I'm after her trying to grab onto her drip, but she's so excited and running around, and it's just, I'm so glad I got it on video, because it's just, for a minute you forget. You forget that something bad is happening or going to happen, or the inevitable is going to happen. And you're just in that moment where, and like I meant what I said, he was the first person to know. And then Cass's mother was the second. So we waited to tell both our mothers that we were expecting. So it meant that much to us.
That's so nice. So nice that you guys were able to have that moment, and just to be able to share that, and that your mom was able to leave a message for your son. She left it in one of the, is it like a bear or something?
Kermit the Frog.
Oh, how
the little
sweet.
Voice box in the middle of it. So I lost it when I first heard that, because we weren't it wasn't given to me till after she passed. So she had left gifts for her kids. This is what I mean, where like, a lot of people don't have that luxury. We lose people unexpectedly. We lose people just like this. And then we're like, I didn't get to say everything I wanted to say.
Yeah.
We had the luxury of time. So, and she got to plan everything out. So she's leaving me a gift after. She left my son a gift after. And then I listen to that. And it's like, just,
Oh
so
my
I'll still
gosh,
go upstairs
respect.
occasionally in his room and I'll push the button, just listen to it, just to hear the voice and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, she left everything.
What was the best lesson you think you learned from your mom?
Oh man. There's, it's so weird because I joke about this now with my friends and everything like that, especially with Cass. Like, I don't know about you, but I had to be home when the street lights came on, and you know what I mean. If you were going to have a sleepover with a friend or whatever, there's rules and be home certain times, curfews. I think trust your gut. Just trust yourself above
Hmm.
all else. I didn't know exactly that until I got out on my own into the world and whatnot, and probably got out of a few situations that I shouldn't have been in, or dangerous situations, just by going, gosh, something doesn't feel right.
Yep.
And then I would just kind of trust that. But she always instilled in me that, be respectful, don't hurt anybody or yourself, uh, treat women well, and trust your gut. And I think those are the main three staples that I will try and instill in my children.
Yeah.
They're going to make mistakes. They're going to learn the hard way. As long as it's not irreversible, it's a lesson. So
Yes.
those are probably the main things.
When did wrestling become the thing for you? Was it super early on?
Uh, Career wise, I
Or
loved
even
wrestling when
just
I was a
like,
kid.
yeah, like fan wise, because I feel like, I mean, I picture like you and your mom, and I'm sure your mom ended up like enduring just like insane amounts of VHSs and DVDs and like just acquiring all of this footage that you must have been watching as a kid.
So no, not really. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, I loved wrestling since I was a kid. And the truth is I did, but no one in my family watched wrestling.
Mm.
My mom didn't watch it. My stepdad didn't watch it. Like, they just never turned the channel if I was watching it. Like, so they just kind of went, all right, he's sitting still, leave him alone. They
Yeah.
just, they never changed the channel. But I remember being, I want to say this was before my stepdad came into the picture. So I might have been like 7 or 8. And I was over at my uncle's house and a bunch of the kids were there and we were watching a pay-per-view. And I can't remember which one it was for the life of me, but I was sitting at the back with a couple of my cousins and my 2 uncles were sitting on opposite sides of the room. And all I remember is the Ultimate Warrior came out. I used to love the Ultimate Warrior when I was a kid. How could you not? The tassels and the hair and the mask and the makeup and all that kind of stuff. But I can't remember who he was wrestling. It might have been Rick Rude or maybe Honky Tonk Man. But when he beat him, my 2 uncles, not kids, my 2 grown men uncles jumped to their feet on opposite sides of the room to high five each other and met in the middle. And I just remember going like, whoa, like that's how I like, yeah. And I start high fiving too. And I just remember thinking like that was an incredible feeling. Now knowing what I know, looking back on it, I was like, that might have been the moment where I went, I want to make my uncles do that. I want to make other grown men and
Yeah.
other grown women and kids do that all alike. That probably sticks out in the moment where I really wanted to try and give this a go. But it was my 2 uncles just high fiving in the middle of all these children watching a pay per view.
What has like your story with wrestling been in terms of like getting your start, the yeses, the nos, being at WWE, going, not being at WWE, now being in AEW. What's the thing that kind of keeps you motivated? What's like your love story with wrestling?
I'm glad we get to kind of cover a little bit of this because for a long time and in other interviews I've given and I apologize to any other interviewees who are going to be watching this, but I've given the general
Sorry.
blanket generic answer of, oh, it's been great. I love professional wrestling and I'm very happy. The reality is it's been a love-hate relationship.
Hmm.
It has been up and down. It has been a lot of down, but there has been times where I've hated this industry, and the reason being is because it's entertainment. And, without pulling the curtain back too much, there are just things you're not in control of. So it can have a tendency to make you feel like you're not good enough, despite how hard you're working, despite how much time or effort you're giving to the industry, and despite what the audience may be doing. It just might not be your number. And this business doesn't owe anybody anything. You've heard that before, and anybody who's been in it for an extended period of time will agree. It doesn't owe us anything. It moves on with or without us. If you ask anybody, any wrestler who's come on here, who's your Mount Rushmore? Number one, that is the most impossible question to answer, in my opinion. There's so many categories. You can't answer that. So don't ask me that.
I won't close out with that. Don't worry. It's not coming.
But it's always the same. It's always the same kind of quiet. It's always The Rock, or it's Stone Cold, or it's Flair, or Hogan, all people who have left our industry. Business is still rolling strong. If not, this is the most profitable time in our business ever. So what keeps me kind of motivated and what keeps me kind of going is knowing that my legacy, the legacy I leave behind, will have nothing to do with pro wrestling, in my opinion. No one's going to probably remember me in great detail after I'm gone, but my son will. My son will know what I've done. My future children will know what I've done. My family knows what I have done. So my nieces and nephews will know what I have done. And if that is enough to kind of guide them down a path, a good path that can be beneficial to their life and the life that they create with someone going forward, I've done my job on this earth. I know that sounds a little weird or odd.
I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just about, if I can inspire people around me, great, wonderful. People come to shows, fantastic. Like I mentioned about those DMs that came in after what I said about my mother, wonderful. I will talk with people all day long and hopefully help in any way I can. But at the end of the day, my legacy is going to be remembered by my family the most. And that is what matters most to me. So that's what keeps me kind of going forward. And that's kind of why I've recently had a bit of a change of heart. Like my son is going to go back and watch a lot of things that I did. And he's going to question, why did you hit that guy in the head with a chair? Why is he bleeding so much? Why is he? And I got to explain to him, it was a time in my life. So with the limited time that I have left in wrestling, I want to be able to show that I can do some good too. And that starts with being honest a lot.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things too, because I feel like when I think about like my relationship with professional wrestling, and you're right, there's the ups, there's the downs. Sometimes it doesn't love you back the way that you love what you get to do. But then I literally can like look around my household. It's like, man, I met my husband there. We now have a child, like all of those things. I mean, it's like that hilarious term of like everything's pro wrestling, but like my whole life is that. And if that's the things that I get from the world of pro wrestling, then hell yeah. I mean, the accolades and, whatever, having a great job and being financially stable, those things are obviously great to have. But like my entire family is essentially rooted in this industry. I did not see that on my bingo card when I started working in this world. I had no idea.
And I don't know if any of us do. And I don't know, you're the same way as me. And when I knew we were going to do this, I was thinking about it yesterday. Like, I remember watching you on The Score, like way back when. And if we think about it, like fast forward X amount of years that have gone by just like this, if I asked you to pinpoint a moment where you felt you made it, could you pinpoint one?
I mean, probably not. I don't know. Could you?
No, not at all. That's my point, is that all of a sudden, like, I remember saying, oh, well, man, I want a t-shirt. How come everybody's getting a t-shirt and not me? Mm-hmm. And I want an action figure. How come everybody's getting an action figure and not me? And then I hope I'm in a video game one day. And all of a sudden, all these things that you hope for have happened.
Yeah.
And we sit here and go, oh, so does that mean that we didn't take enough time to enjoy those moments when they happen? Are we moving too fast? Or do we need to kind of take a step back and go, damn, like, you did all right. I survived this business. Where a lot of people don't in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. So to your point about taking a look around and going, my kids are going to be okay. My family's going to be okay. This business doesn't have to love you back at all. but how you're able to navigate through all those no's or navigate through those roadblocks, through or around, you're able to at least inspire or help other people go, no, don't take that way. Take that way.
Yeah.
And one thing I love doing is teaching, and I'm able to prepare students or even talent on the roster that have 5, 6, 7 years in when they're frustrated and they come to me and they go, this is horse shit. And I go, this is how it is. And it's just temporary. The bad times are temporary. The good times are temporary too. You got to take the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think it is that it takes so much? Well, I guess that's not really fair to say. I was going to say, I always feel like success takes a lot longer to achieve in professional wrestling than maybe it does, whether it's another sport. I would kind of make it like liken it more to maybe like an actor's career, that sometimes it takes a little bit longer to really generate that buzz and generate that fan base and whatnot. But what do you think it is about wrestling? I mean, yes, you're a teacher. You're a great teacher. You've got your training school flatbacks with good old Breezy Boy.
Another Canadian.
Yeah, I know, right? What is with Canadians in pro wrestling? Jeez.
We're everywhere.
It's so great. But yeah, it's something about like you've really got to put so much time in. And I mean, you mentioned it just a second ago about wanting to be as honest as you can. And you also were talking about how much time you have left doing this. Where do you kind of stand on that?
The thing about a wrestling audience, in my opinion, is they're so unique. They're some of the most critical people of all sports fan base, in my opinion, that there is. But at the same time, they're also the most loyal. Mm-hmm. Case in point, I'm gone for 5 months, which is a long time in the world of entertainment. There have been athletes and other sports teams that are gone 5 months, and you're like, what team does he play for? Some people just forget. Our wrestling fan base does not forget. That's why people can go away and have children and come back 5, 6, 7 years later, and they're welcomed back with open arms because our audience just cares. Whether they like to admit it or not, they do. But the wrestling is just, it's built and based a lot of it on ego. So I know I had people tell me that it wasn't a good idea. Sadly, I had my mother and father tell me face to face, it's not a good idea. You're going to be hurt and home in 3 months or 3 weeks. So no, we'd rather you go work at a casino, not knowing that I already paid $4,000 to go to a wrestling school, and I just hadn't told them yet. So it's just it's such an individual drive and a push that it's so hard to explain. It really is. If you feel something in if you feel that you're on the right track, you're supposed to be doing something, you got to see it all the way through. And when I said earlier about some things are out of your control, yes, in the world of sports, entertainment, it ain't your show, man. So no matter how prepared you are or how good you think you are, if someone else wants something to be a certain way, it will be that way. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't work as hard. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't keep trying. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't stay as sharp as I can be, because you're doing a disservice to you as a professional. I can't picture my life without wrestling in some way, shape, or form. I am winding down. I don't have a lot of time left. That's probably the main reason why I put pressure on myself.
Is that
now.
like contractually or body wise?
Both.
Okay.
Body wise, I'm in really good shape. And a lot of guys will say that I'm in great shape, or best shape of my life. I mean it in a sense where I've never been at the main event, top of the card, champion schedule. You understand the champion schedule. John is all over the place. Mm-hmm. That's a champion schedule. A champion schedule is staying to the end of the night. You're last. You're going out there 30 minutes every night and busting your ass, and then you're jumping in a car and you're driving to where you got to go. I never had to do the champion schedule. So my body, after almost 21 years, is in really good condition based on what I have done. But there's very few things that I would like to do left in wrestling. And I've been pushing to try and check off a few of those boxes before my time is done. And it's been difficult and it's been a challenge, but not more challenging than anything else I've been through in 20 plus years. So that's where I put the pressure on myself nowadays, if I'm being honest.
What are some of those things? How do you kind of see this going? If you're able to just put on like your booker hat and you're writing your next couple programs, what do those look like for you?
So my favorite picture of all time, aside from anything my wife is currently in or will be in the future with my son, is Brody Lee, very good friend of mine. He has a picture with his son, both sons actually holding the TNT title. And they're both so happy and they're both so, like you can see it on his face, how proud he is. And you can see how proud they are of him. And it's just that he's their hero. Now knowing I'm definitely going to have a boy, it wouldn't have mattered either way, but I want that same thing between me and my son. When my son comes to me one day and says, I want to be, a World Series baseball player winner. Cool. Yeah, you can do it. Think so? Yeah. Here's why. This is what Dad did. This is Dad's reward, and he gets to hold it and see it and look at it. And, that's what I'm envious of John of. Like, Nora's one day going to be able to pick up his stuff and go, Dad, what's this? And he gets to tell her stories. And he gets to tell her about that moment. And hopefully that inspires her to go, I want my moment too. And then she goes and chases.
Yeah.
That's the idea behind that. So my goal is to be decorated, is to win a championship in a major company, AEW or elsewhere. Yeah. That is my goal, just so I can have that time and that prize to show my son in the future.
What title is that to you? Which one would you love to have around your waist or shoulder for that photo?
Being completely honest, I have always seen myself as an Intercontinental Champion.
I knew you were going to say that for some reason. You have that IC champ glow.
So I grew up on the Mr. Perfects and the Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. Those are the guys that, and then as I got into wrestling, it was always known as the Workhorse Championship.
Yeah,
so it's like, so I'd always seen myself in that kind of zone.
Sure.
So in a perfect world, be the Intercontinental Championship.
I like that answer. That is a good answer. I feel like that. Yeah, you definitely like fall into that category of like the one that everyone in the locker room too is kind of like, yes, finally, let's get this championship run going.
And it doesn't have to be long. It just has to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a moment in time. It's not about the title. It's about the chase. It's about the journey.
Of course.
So that's it always storytelling. Is. That's to me storytelling. So if I keep putting it out there positively and keep staying ready, so I never have to get ready, maybe, but maybe not.
Who can say, right? Who can say? We manifest here. We manifest things over here. Okay, let's talk flatbacks really quickly here. How did this concept come together for you and Breeze to start this wrestling school?
It was his idea, and I was refused immediately. So I just actually left WWE. And probably about 2 months later, he's like, hey, what do you think about opening up a school? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And I'm thinking of going over here and I'm hoping I can go over here. And I just don't know the schedule, the time frame, because he was still in NXT. He was still wrestling full time as well.
Yeah.
But it was mainly decided after I went to do a seminar not long after I left. And I asked in Florida, and I asked him to come with me. Just come with me, help me out. And no disrespect to anybody in the area or to how anybody decides to teach. To each their own. But we had realized during that seminar that there was a lot of gaps that fundamentally that young kids were being taught. And to the point where some kids who had 5-6 years in were like, okay, throw a punch. And they're like, oh, I haven't been taught how to throw a punch. And we're like, oh. Okay. So, strikes are a big fundamental thing in our industry. So it was things like that were like, okay. And then the mindset of a lot of young kids too weren't exactly healthy, so to speak. So we just After
Like
that, we
how
had a lot
so?
of
What do you mean?
questions. Just false. So a lot of students would be staying at the same place, training, five,
Okay.
6, 7 years in.
Got it.
Okay, I'll have you branched out at all? No, no, no. I just kind of come train here. I do shows locally. It's like,
Okay.
look, at our school, once you're trained, fundamentally, you have the very basics. You're not a polished product. You're not a finished product. You have the very basic fundamental tools to go out and start working, start figuring out who you are. You need experience in front of an audience. But I think some places that charge, a monthly fee, or it's, we just want to make sure that we were kind of going to put young students in the best possible position to succeed. One way or the other, you're going to find out without wasting a great deal of time if this is something you truly want to do or if it's not. Because at the end of the day, more than most people, like how brutal this can be on your body. This beats the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to do that to your body, there has to be kind of a goal in mind or a reward at the end of the tunnel.
Sure.
Something to chase. But it was Breeze's idea. And I was like, nope, not a chance. And then he kind of, based on everything I just told you, he kind of said, like, look, we kind of owe it to these kids to kind of guide whoever wants to come here in the right direction. He's right. He was 100% right.
Got to push those little baby birds out of the nest. Make them fly, baby. Make them fly. Get out there.
That's how I learned. And, I can go into stories about, God, practicing in Puerto Rico while drive-bys were happening.
Oh, God.
I could tell you all this stuff that looking back on now, you're like, wow, why did I?
Why was I there? Why was that situation happening?
How was I in that position? But at the same time, we can have a laugh about it now going like, it's living, a different
baby.
Business.
Yep.
Yeah. Get out there.
That life. I don't know if you can give me the insider scoop to this, but is Tyler Breeze ever going to wrestle ever again? Or is he just done? He can't be done.
So I tell him that all the time too, because he still works out. He's still in shape. And a lot of times
he could use a little self-tanner. Let's put that out there.
Oh, 100%. For a guy who claims to be a male model, yeah, you better use the best of the best self-tan. But there'll be times where we'll hop in the ring and have 20, 25 minutes. We just did that a couple weeks ago with the guns. Mm-hmm. Just at the school, just get some cardio in and we'll go 20, 25 minutes of a tag match. And he can still go. He can still do everything, still works out, still does. But if I say to him, hey, man, you getting ready for a second round? He goes, nah, retired. But how do you... So I don't know. That's the true answer. But I see the excitement sometimes when he hops in.
Sure.
So I think he's done very well for himself. He's a very smart guy.
I know. That's why it's such a question mark. It's like he doesn't need it. He's fine. He does just fine.
Yeah.
Is that itch still there?
I think it still creeps in every now and then. Yeah. And I only know that because of how passionate he is when he teaches too. Mm-hmm. So if he didn't care, he'd be a little more relaxed. So I think it's still there a little bit. It's just a matter of timing or the right opportunity presenting itself. But I hope, honestly, that he's not done because he still has a lot to offer. He still does offer a lot.
So much to offer, yes.
But, I mean, just an incredible coach, good human being, and, a benefit to this industry.
Yeah, he's aight. We don't mind him.
Yeah. He's Canadian, so bad. I tolerate him.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, right? I mean, he's from BC. Makes it a little more questionable, but we'll take it. Okay, my last question to you. This is not a Mount Rushmore question. This is
I hope not.
You're starting your own wrestling promotion. Who are your top 5 guys, your guys and girls that you are drafting to build a promotion around?
Oh, my top 5 guys. Oh,
who's
so
the future
difficult.
of this business? As someone that looks at things through a trainer's eyes, you get to spend a lot of time with different people.
Man.
Who you attaching your cart to?
That's so...
Buggy to the horse, is that the saying? Cart
the
to
old,
the horse?
I think that's worse. I think that's worse than the Mount Rushmore question, buddy. Shit. Oh.
Well, I at least give you like a little space to move. I gave you 5, not 10.
No.
5. I mean, I don't know. You can pick someone that's like, you get someone that's a mouthpiece. You can get someone that can put on a 60-minute Ironman match. You can have a a great character. There's lots to work with. The world is your oyster.
Yeah, there's a ton to work with, and some people that might be offended that I leave them out. I don't. So a few off the top of my head, Miz. I'm going to throw the Miz out there only because the guy's so reliable. He's so well rounded. I can put him in a wrestling ring. I could also put him on a TV show. I could put him on a talk show. He's very good for promoting a company. The guy's a professional through and through. His work ethic
body's held up too. Give him that. His body is held up.
And his work ethic is second to none. So Miz is on my list of guys that I would start things up with. Randy Orton, I think he's pound for pound one of the best professional wrestlers on the planet. MJF, if I'm building for the future. Yeah. A guy who gets it at an extraordinarily young age. Oh my gosh, it's so tough. So tough. I throw Cody Rhodes in there as well. Okay. Cody Rhodes is a good one to put in just because, forget lineage aside, the guy just knows how to carry himself and represent a company at the highest of standards. So, God, and you know what? Me.
Hell
damn it.
Yeah.
If it's my company,
answer.
I'm the workhorse. I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna make sure TV's done on time. I'm gonna make sure that we hit all the marks we're hitting. And
good answer. Put yourself in there. Let's go.
Yeah, I just wouldn't put the title on myself. It was my company. That's the only thing I wouldn't do. That's a taboo. That's a no-no. But to be able to get in there, mix it up with those guys again and stuff like that would be that's kind of copping out on you a little bit on one more, but
No, it's all right. I like it. Listen, it was your answer to your question to answer. I speak for a living. Welcome to the show. Wow, I cannot talk today.
I think you're holding up just fine, buddy.
It's fine. Well, listen, I know you're a busy man. You've got lots of things to do. I'm sure your wife needs you to, elevate her feet, get her a snack, rub her back, whatever she needs. You go do that. Super, super happy for you guys, honestly. Like, the biggest congratulations. You guys are going to be amazing, amazing parents. If you have any questions, I'm your girl.
Oh, you already know that. We've already spoke off screen and said we're going to bug you because like a lot of our wrestling friends have, not a lot, but a few have babies now, but a lot of our friends outside, like they not yet, or
I know. Yeah.
So, and we have families in Canada, families in Australia. So we don't really have anybody kind of local. So we are going to bug you.
How crazy, by the way, that you're going to have an American child while you are Canadian and your wife is Australian.
Didn't see that coming. That wasn't in my bingo card, I tell you that much.
Isn't that crazy? Can you get your citizenship based off your child being American?
I don't think so.
Damn it.
I don't think so. But if I don't get my citizenship, he's kind of screwed, I think. So I kind of have to now. But I think you can only get 2. So I think they only want you to have 2. So he's going to be American and either Canadian or Australian. So I don't think... Oh,
shit. He's got to pick.
Some places allow you 3, but I don't believe. I have to do more homework on it. I think just in passing, I've seen that somewhere. I could be wrong.
So you guys are gonna have to do like PowerPoint presentations. You got to represent Canada. She'll represent Australia, and he can make the choice.
Oh, Cass is gonna make the choice for both of us. She's like, no, he's Australian. I was like, and I said, well, he'll probably do better with the ladies if he's part Australian. Yeah,
sure. Hey, it's all under Commonwealth though, so maybe there's some kind of
loophole.
Yeah, there's something there. There's got to be, I'm sure. Well,
but what a lucky kid, huh?
Oh my God, so lucky. What I would have given to have multiple passports as a child. I would have. Could you think of the shit that I could have got done? Good Lord, I would have been busy.
But now Nora will. Nora's got the best of both worlds, correct?
Yes, I know. Well, I actually don't have her Canadian yet, but it is on my to-do list. I have all the paperwork and stuff to do it. I just need to knock it out. Yeah, she will be. She'll know.
Options are good.
Oh, she will know. She knows all about it. Hell yeah.
No excuse, kid.
Nope, no excuse none at all. None at all. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I really appreciate you just so like honestly talking about things. I know some things obviously pretty difficult to talk about. And, my condolences to your entire family on the passing of your mom. She sounds like she was just an absolute gem of a human being.
Oh, thank you. It's always easy to talk to someone who's a sweetheart. So you're a pro. I appreciate you. And this was my pleasure.